Halifax, the only city in Canada where fish are allowed to vote, but choose not to. But this video isn't about politics, it's about the rental market. A viewer asked about rents and vacancy rates in Halifax, so I looked into the data and it actually turned out to be very interesting, so I'm just going to make one quick donaire joke and then get into the details. According to the latest rent report from Rentals.ca, the average asking rent in Halifax was $2,323 per month, or about 6.65 large donaires per day. This is an increase of 10% from the previous year, with only studio apartments seeing a slight decrease. Looking at the past 6 years, the average asking rent in Halifax has risen by about 68%. On an annualized basis, that's 9.2% per year compared to the national average of just 3%. In fact, since January of 2019, asking rents in Halifax have risen from about $400 below the national average to $200 above the national average. However, you may have also seen this rental market report from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. While our rent report showed an average increase of 10% year over year, the CMHC showed an increase of only 3.8% for their benchmark 2-bedroom apartment. The first thing to understand here is that the Rentals.ca report is based on listings, so it's measuring asking rents for places that are available to rent right now. The CMHC report is a survey of the entire rental market, including occupied units. So, why is there such a big difference in the change in asking rents versus overall rents? Well, the answer lies in vacancy rates. According to the CMHC, with thousands of new rental units being built each year, the vacancy rate in Halifax is now 2.1%, up from just 1% last year. However, that doesn't tell the whole story. So I downloaded all of their current and previous data tables for Halifax, and this is what I was able to find out. First of all, the turnover rate has been declining. Turnover is when a tenant moves out of a rental and a new person moves in. Back in 2018, the turnover rate was 21%, meaning that people were moving, on average, about once every 5 years. However, in 2024, the turnover rate was only 10%, meaning that people are much more likely to stay put than they were just a few years ago. In terms of vacancy rate, for the past 5 years, they provided tables that show vacancy rates based on affordability by income quintile. Basically, they break down the population into 5 segments by income, then look at what price range of rentals they can afford based on spending 30% of monthly income on rent. There wasn't a lot of data on the top and bottom quintiles, so I just lumped this data together into the lowest 60% and highest 40% based on household incomes. And what we see is that while the overall vacancy rate may have increased, the vacancy rate for the most affordable units has actually decreased to just under 1%, while the vacancy rate for higher priced units has increased to 3.1%. If we look at the vacant units as a whole, with more new units coming onto the market and higher vacancy rates in the more expensive market segment, that top 2 quintile price range now makes up about 60% of all the vacant units on the market, up from just 22% in 2023. So as a result, the average asking rent for vacant units is going up faster than what the average person is actually paying because more of the available units are in that higher priced bracket. On the flip side, there are a lot fewer units in the lower price range listed for rent because the vacancy rate is much lower and people are staying in the units for longer. So while the overall vacancy rate in Halifax has increased, a lot of that is going to be associated with newer, more luxurious units that are being rented at a higher price point. If you want to see the full details, go to the link in our bio to see the rent report at Rentals.ca. And if you don't find what you need there, you can ask a question in the comments, or you can always take some pita bread, cover it with beef, onions, tomatoes, and sweet sauce, and have yourself a delicious time.